Good morning, 6th grade. Mr. Hale here. I hope your weekend was relaxing, that you're safe and well, washing your hands, staying at home as much as possible. Today, I'd like to start on some new work related to the things that we've been working on the previous 2 weeks. This new work is in the back end of your packet that I sent home with you and that hopefully you remembered to turn in this weekend. However, I've copied the information for this lesson into Microsoft OneNote, which is the program we're going to be using for homework and lessons moving forward. If you have not already logged on to OneNote, please contact someone at the school, me, Mr. Vigil, Mrs. Chapman. Probably Mrs. Chapman is the best, and we will figure out how to help you get on there. And then if you have any trouble entering in your answers into the homework section, Mr. Vigil is going to be doing a video today, Monday the 6th, on how to use OneNote. I would recommend that if you haven't already watched it, you start there. Okay, let's get into math. So, as a reminder, last week we talked about percentages, fractions, and proportions. We're going to go back once I've graded your paper packets, and I know how well you guys did, and review percentages and fractions based on if I see things that, in general, the class doesn't seem to be picking up. So later this week into next week, expect to do a review over percentages and fractions. We'll also touch base on proportions again as part of that review. But until I've graded your packets, we can't do that, so today we're going to move forward. As a reminder from our lessons on proportions, proportions are a set of two fractions set equal to each other. In our case, one entry of that proportion is going to be unknown. And our method for solving for that unknown value is to take the two numbers that are diagonal from each other. So in the case of this number 1, 8 and 30, multiply them together. 30 times 8 is 240. And then we are going to take that multiplication result and divide by the number we haven't used yet, which in this case is 12. 240 divided by 12 gives us 20. So our answer to number 1 here would be that this y is equal to 20. Same process here on number 2. This time our diagonal is 18 and 21. So we're going to multiply 18 times 21. That's going to give us 378. Divide that by the number we haven't used yet. That's 63. And we get 6. So our missing number here, represented by the letter y, is 6. Y is equal to 6 on number 2. And then on number 3, one more example. Our diagonal is 15 and 22. 22 times 15 is going to give us 330. And then we're going to divide by the number we haven't used yet, which is 33. 330 divided by 33 is 10. So m is equal to 10 on problem number 3. Okay, so we know how to use that process. Let's go to our new lesson, which is on unit rates. So if you speak any Spanish, you'll know that the word for one in Spanish is uno. And that's related to this word, unit. Unit in the world of math means 1. And a unit rate is a special kind of proportion where one of the sides of the proportion has the number 1 in it. We are looking for how much a thing happens in 1 unit of time. Let's start with the most common example of this that I could find in any textbook or any website online, miles per hour. All right, let's say that we know that we traveled 750 miles and that it took us 12 hours. We drove from St. Louis to Denver, Colorado or so. What I want to know is, how many miles were we traveling in 1 hour. We know we went 750 in 12. How far did we average going in 1? And this is how speed limits are set on roads. 65 miles per hour is an indication that the authorities expect you to travel at a speed which would get you 65 miles in 1 hour of time. That's what mile per hour is. Let's set this up as a proportion, since that's what we've been studying. So we're going to put 750, and I'm going to put the units, miles. MI is our indicator of miles. And then underneath that, in the same fraction, we're going to put 12 hours. The two numbers that we know are associated with each other, the 750 and the 12, have to be in the same fraction. You can't put one of the numbers on the left and another number on the right. They have to be on top of each other. So we have to put 750 miles on top and 12 hours on the bottom. So then what I meant to go with that is this. The other side of the proportion, we had miles on top here. That means miles needs to be on top here as well. We can't put miles on top on the left and miles on the bottom on the right. If miles is on the top on the left, it has to be on the top on the right. Hours is on the bottom here, so hours is on the bottom here. Okay, now, what's the third number that we know in our proportion? Because we have to know 3 numbers to make this work. Well, that's 1. We want to know how far we travel in 1 hour. This is a proportion with 1 blank spot. We know our process. Multiply our diagonal, 750 times 1. Well, 750 times 1 is just going to give us 750. Then divide that by the number we haven't used yet, which is 12. 750 divided by 12, our answer is 62.5. In 1 hour, we would travel 62.5 miles. So yes, we used proportion, the multiply the diagonal, divide by the number we haven't used yet, except that it just ended up being a division problem. We didn't need to necessarily do that multiplication. We could just divide these two numbers we know. How about this? Let's say that there's a basketball player who scored exactly 300 points over the course of 20 games. What is his per game average? How many points is he expected to score in one game? We could set up our proportion. 300 has to go on top. P for points. Let's call it PT for points. And then on the bottom of that, the number of games. 20 games. Let's go Y. 20 GM for games. Then the other side of our proportion, we're going to put points on top again, because points and points both have to be on top. And we're going to put games on the bottom. We know that our third number here is going to be 1 game. Multiply our diagonal. 300 times 1. Well, that's just going to give us 300. Divide by the number we haven't used yet. That's 20. 300 divided by 20. He's scoring 15 points per game. So we could set this up as a proportion. And in fact, sometimes that'll be necessary. But if you have a 1 involved, more than likely, you're going to end up just dividing. So it's a one-step solution. Your homework for today is going to be these 9 problems. All of these, numbers 1 through 5, are going to be just like what we did up here. Make sure you get your units in the right places. The one of these that I would recommend you be careful with is you're going to need to convert 2 hours and 45 minutes into a total number of minutes. I want the answer to number 4 to be words per minute. So how many minutes are there in 2 hours? How many minutes are there in 1 hour? Multiply that by 2, then add this extra 45. So I want you to end up doing 8,580 divided by this total number of just minutes. Down here, 6 through 9, we can, there's going to be slightly different versions. Maybe in this case, you know what the cost is for one item. So for example, on number 6, maybe you know it's 4.25 over 1, and I want the cost of 5. So instead of finding the number that's on top of the 1, like we did in our example, now we know what's on top of the 1. We need this other number. As long as we set this up correctly, the same process will work. Multiply your diagonal, divide by the number you haven't used yet. You're going to end up dividing by 1, so it's a one-step problem. Again, just do numbers 1 through 9. Keep in mind this special instruction on problem number 4. If you have difficulty entering your answers into OneNote, please feel free to email me or jump on my office hours this afternoon. This is expected to be due at the end of the week. There'll be a new lesson tomorrow. Stay safe, wash your hands, stay at home as much as possible. I'll see you guys soon.